Welcome to Dog's Information. Lightly curled against your side every night. It is far more than just a cozy habit. This nightly routine is deeply rooted in evolutionary biology. Canine behaviorists emphasize that where your dog chooses to rest sends precise physical signals about how they perceive you within their social structure. Why do some dogs refuse to leave your side while others prefer sleeping at a distance? In this deep dive, we will decode the unconscious body language and neurological processes that occur when your dog rests next to you. Let us explore 13 fascinating biological reasons behind this behavior and why this physical bond gains profound psychological meaning as the years go by. 1. The evolutionary drive for physical proximity. Long before domestic dogs claimed the softest spots in our modern living rooms, sleeping in a tight physical cluster secured the survival of their wild ancestors. In the harsh, unpredictable reality of nature, sleep represents the absolute peak of physical vulnerability. A resting predator must completely power down its defensive reflexes. Wolves and early wild canids were strictly dependent on the physical presence of their pack to share vital body heat and form a collective defensive perimeter in the dark. Sleeping closely together was never merely about comfort. It was a highly calculated survival strategy. Although our dogs now live in climate-controlled secure environments, this ancient neurological code has not been erased from their DNA. Deep within your dog's brain, seeking physical proximity to trusted pack members feels fundamentally soothing. When your dog makes the deliberate choice to spend the night pressed against you, they are categorizing you as the most stable, secure anchor in their environment. Your specific scent profile, the rhythm of your breathing, and the subtle movements you make in your sleep send continuous biological signals to their nervous system that the area is safe. For your dog, you are the ultimate guardian, allowing them to fully switch off their own archaic survival instincts. 2. The deep neurological shifts during shared rest. When your dog leans their heavy body weight against you, a fascinating chemical reaction occurs that goes far beyond simple affection. Extensive studies in behavioral biology confirm that this close physical contact stimulates a massive release of oxytocin in the brains of both species. This highly potent neuropeptide initiates a biological bonding loop. It is the exact same chemical mechanism that drives the unshakable connection between a human mother and her newborn. As your dog lies beside you, this hormone floods their bloodstream, actively suppressing the adrenal glands and halting the production of cortisol, the primary stress hormone. You will notice their baseline muscle tension completely dissolve. Your radiant body heat and the steady pulse of your heart act as a biological metronome, actively synchronizing and calming their autonomic nervous system. Researchers have meticulously documented that dogs achieve much longer, highly restorative phases of deep sleep when they remain physically close to the person who provides them with absolute emotional safety. Your physical presence is the vital biological catalyst that allows them to regenerate on a cellular level. 3. The emotional and physiological benefits in later life. A dog's decision to seek nighttime proximity also delivers profound physiological benefits to the human body, particularly for individuals in the second half of life. During a phase when daily routines may quiet down, a dog serves as a highly reliable biological anchor. The steady comforting presence of a breathing warm animal actively shatters the silent epidemic of isolation so prevalent in modern society. Clinical observations on human-animal interactions reveal that a dog sleeping in your bed or directly next to it provides a powerful form of deep pressure stimulation. Similar to a weighted therapeutic blanket, the physical mass of a dog leaning against your legs activates the human parasympathetic nervous system. This results in a measurable drop in human blood pressure and a natural slowing of the respiratory rate. Many older adults report a significant improvement in their own sleep architecture, as the low rhythmic sound of the dog's breathing acts as a natural white noise that interrupts racing thoughts. These microscopic nightly moments of unconscious physical communication fortify the emotional bridge between you and your companion, turning bedtime into a highly therapeutic recovery phase. For the highly selective process of choosing a primary anchor. In households with multiple people, dogs display an absolute, unwavering focus when selecting their preferred sleeping partner. A dog rarely lies down next to someone by pure chance. This spatial decision is the result of a highly complex internal evaluation of emotional stability, daily routine, and biological trust. Dogs constantly analyze the baseline body language and emotional states of the humans around them. The person who projects the most internal calm, establishes fair boundaries, and spends the most relaxed time with the animal is almost always chosen as the primary anchor. Furthermore, the olfactory component is critical. Dogs map their entire physical world through their superior sense of smell. The concentrated pheromones of the person they trust the most act as a biochemical sedative. If your dog bypasses everyone else's bed and makes a beeline for yours, it is a deliberate biological confirmation. It is an unmistakable physical statement that in their complex sensory world you represent the ultimate epitome of reliability and emotional protection. 5. The behavioral medicine perspective on co-sleeping. Veterinary behaviorists frequently approach the topic of shared sleeping arrangements with careful nuance. However, the general consensus is clear: for an emotionally balanced healthy dog that does not exhibit resource-guarding physical closeness brings far more biological advantages than drawbacks. A shared sleeping space cements mutual trust and helps increase the dog's resilience against everyday environmental stressors. This is especially true for working breeds with a strong genetic drive to collaborate with humans. Nighttime contact validates their social integration. Nevertheless, experts stress that the sleep hygiene of both species must remain the priority. If a large dog experiences restless sleep, pants heavily, or physically pushes the human into uncomfortable positions, the owner's sleep cycle becomes severely fragmented. From a neurobiological standpoint, it is often more restorative for both parties if the dog sleeps in their own orthopedic bed within direct visual and olfactory range. The goal is to maintain the neurological comfort of proximity without compromising vital physiological recovery. 6. The conscious decision for absolute vulnerability. There is a specific layer of sleeping body language that many owners completely overlook. Dogs do not merely sleep. They adopt precise physical postures that reflect their internal emotional baseline. When your dog rolls onto their back right next to you, stretching their legs out and exposing their soft, unprotected abdomen, you are witnessing the ultimate display of biological trust. In the anatomy of a predator, the throat and the belly are the most critically vulnerable regions, hiding vital organs behind a very thin layer of skin. Exposing these zones while in a state of total unconsciousness requires the absolute eradication of fear. A stressed or environmentally insecure dog will invariably curl into a tight defensive ball to protect their organs. A dog that sleeps fully extended or completely inverted in your immediate presence has entirely deactivated their evolutionary defense mechanisms. They are relying 100% on your physical capability to stand guard. This posture is not a random stretch. It is the physical manifestation of total psychological safety. 7. When spatial separation is the healthier biological choice. While the emotional warmth of co-sleeping is undeniable, we must acknowledge the biological realities that sometimes demand physical distance. This is particularly relevant for aging dogs or large breeds susceptible to joint diseases like osteoarthritis or spinal spondylosis. For these senior animals, the nightly struggle of competing for space on a soft shifting human mattress, being accidentally bumped in the dark, or facing the painful drop to the floor in the morning can cause immense physical distress. Additionally, some dogs may develop an unhealthy form of resource guarding, viewing the human bed as their exclusive, high-value territory, which creates unnecessary household tension. If your dog frequently startles, awake, shifts, positions restlessly, or emits a low growl at your slightest movement, their body is actively transmitting stress signals. In these scenarios, establishing a dedicated protected resting zone on the floor is an act of deep biological care, not a punishment. A high-quality orthopedic bed in the same room maintains essential social proximity, completely eliminates physical pressure, and allows for the undisturbed regeneration of their aging musculoskeletal system. 8. The synchronization of respiration and pulse. One of the most profound phenomena of shared resting is physiological co-regulation. When you settle down for the night and your dog presses tightly against your thigh or lower back, pay close attention to their respiratory rate. Initially, they might be panting slightly or breathing erratically from the events of the evening. However, the moment you consciously slow your own breathing into a deep, steady rhythm, you will feel the dog's ribcage begin to adjust. Within a matter of minutes, The dog's breathing cycle will perfectly align with the rise and fall of your own chest. This biological mirroring is a physical marker of enormous empathetic connection. Your dog utilizes your calm physiological state to actively calibrate their own autonomic nervous system. They rely entirely on your bodily signals as the ultimate gauge for environmental safety. This synchronization runs so deep that even minor fluctuations in your emotional state are physically registered by the sleeping dog. It is a silent, highly efficient form of communication that bridges the gap between two different species at a cellular level. Intense olfactory processing during the sleep cycle. Humans massively underestimate how much a dog relies on olfactory data even while unconscious. The olfactory center in a dog's brain remains highly active during the deepest stages of rest. Your body continuously emits a unique chemical signature composed of specific pheromones and skin oils. When your dog rests their heavy snout directly on your discarded shirt or presses their nose firmly against your foot, they are actively inhaling your specific biological markers. For the canine brain, this scent functions exactly like a physiological safety blanket. It signals permanence and stability. Clinical studies on dogs suffering from separation anxiety demonstrate that the mere scent of their primary owner is sufficient to significantly dampen fear responses in the amygdala. Therefore, when your dog spends the night immersed in your strongest scent field, their brain continuously processes the data point: the pack is present. This constant olfactory reassurance prevents sudden startled awakenings and ensures a seamless biological transition between various sleep cycles, ultimately preserving the animal's long-term cognitive health. 10. The sentinel instinct in aging dogs. As dogs age, the physical dynamic of how they spend their nights often undergoes a subtle shift. Many owners notice that a dog who previously slept tightly tucked under their arms suddenly relocates to the foot of the bed, positioning themselves with their back to the human and their eyes facing the bedroom door. Humans frequently misinterpret this as emotional distancing or waning affection. The biological reality is exactly the reverse. As dogs grow older and experience the natural decline of their auditory and visual acuity, they often compensate with heightened tactical vigilance. They actively assume the role of the nighttime sentinel by pressing their sensitive spine against your feet. The dog secures their own physical blind spot while utilizing your body as a tactile alarm system. Simultaneously, they orient their remaining senses toward the primary access point of the room. They are physically shielding you from the environment. This quiet guardian instinct is a deeply moving form of evolutionary loyalty. The dog is claiming the responsibility of watching over their primary caregivers' vulnerable state. It is an unobtrusive yet fiercely protective gesture, proving that their deep bond remains unshakable in their twilight years, simply manifesting in new caretaking behaviors. 11. The dynamic of thermal homeostasis. Another highly communicative aspect of nighttime behavior involves the way your dog manages their body temperature through physical contact. Dogs naturally run a few degrees warmer than humans. During the night, you may notice your dog cycling between pressing their body heavily against your side to absorb your radiant heat, and then suddenly moving to the cool hardwood floor or the foot of the bed. This is the active biological process of thermal homeostasis. They are constantly regulating their core temperature. The fact that they return to your side once they have cooled down is a massive indicator of spatial confidence. They understand that their spot beside you is permanent and undisputed. An insecure dog might endure physical overheating simply out of fear of losing their prime position in the pack hierarchy. A dog that freely moves away to cool their belly on the floor, knowing they can safely return to your side an hour later, is demonstrating absolute environmental security. They trust the stability of your bond enough to prioritize their physical comfort without fear of losing your affection. 12. The subconscious physical tether. Often, a dog does not need full body contact to feel secure. Instead, they utilize a highly specific physical anchor. You might wake up to find your dog sleeping on the floor beside the bed, but they have deliberately rested one single paw or the heavy weight of their chin directly across your ankle or foot. This behavior creates a subconscious biological tether. It functions as a tactile early warning tripwire. While the dog falls into a heavy sleep, their nervous system remains anchored to your physical form. If you suddenly sit up, shift your weight, or attempt to leave the room, The break in physical contact instantly pulls them from their sleep cycle. They do this because they refuse to be left behind or caught off guard. By maintaining just one tiny point of physical contact, they can afford to deeply relax the rest of their musculature, knowing that any environmental change involving you will immediately transmit a physical signal to their waking brain. It is an elegant minimalist survival strategy wrapped in deep devotion. 13. The vulnerability of sleep processing. The deepest compliment your dog can pay you happens when their physical body begins to involuntarily react to their dreams. During the REM stage of sleep, you will observe their paws twitching as if running, their facial muscles spasming, and you will hear muffled vocalizations, tiny barks, or soft whimpers. This is the brain actively processing the complex cognitive data and memories of the day. Crucially, a dog's brain chemically induces a temporary state of muscle paralysis to prevent them from physically acting out these intense dreams and injuring themselves. Entering this state requires an animal to be more biologically defenseless than at any other time. A dog will absolutely refuse to slip into this profound active dream state if they harbor even a fraction of environmental anxiety. When they allow themselves to twitch, vocalize, and dream deeply right beside you, they are proving that your presence provides an impenetrable layer of protection. They only surrender to the vulnerability of the dream world because they trust you to stand guard in the physical one. The precise way your dog navigates the night in your presence is a complex continuous language of physical trust, biological dependency, and profound unspoken loyalty. Every slow exhale, every relaxed stretch of their spine, and every deliberate spatial choice tells the remarkable story of a cross-species bond forged over thousands of years. Understanding this silent nocturnal communication allows you to truly recognize and honor the magnificent animal sleeping at your side. We are always deeply fascinated to hear about the loyal companions guarding your homes. Please drop down into the comments section below and let us know, what is your dog's name. Your dog has the entire house at their disposal. They could easily claim the plush living room sofa, the cool kitchen tiles, or that one perfectly sunlit spot by the back window. They literally possess endless options for where to rest their body. Yet, something fascinating happens daily. When your dog deliberately chooses to lie down directly in front of you, right in your walking path, or close enough that you can simply reach. Processing the complex cognitive data and memories of the day. Crucially, a dog's brain chemically induces a temporary state of muscle paralysis during processing the complex cognitive data and memories of the day. Crucially, a dog's brain chemically induces a temporary state of muscle paralysis to prevent them from physically acting out these intense dreams and injuring themselves. Entering this state requires an animal to be more biologically defenseless than at any other time. A dog will absolutely refuse to slip into this profound active dream state if they harbor even a fraction of environmental anxiety. When they allow themselves to twitch, vocalize, and dream deeply right beside you, they are proving that your presence provides an impenetrable layer of protection. They only surrender to the vulnerability of the dream world because they trust you to stand guard in the physical one. The precise way your dog navigates the night in your presence is a complex continuous language of physical trust, biological dependency, and profound unspoken loyalty. Every slow exhale, every relaxed stretch of their spine, and every deliberate spatial choice tells the remarkable story of a cross-species bond forged over thousands of years. Understanding this silent nocturnal communication allows you to truly recognize and honor the magnificent animal sleeping at your side. We are always deeply fascinated to hear about the loyal companions guarding your homes. Please drop down into the comments section below and let us know, what is your dog's name. Your dog has the entire house at their disposal. They could easily claim the plush living room sofa, the cool kitchen tiles, or that one perfectly sunlit spot by the back window. They literally possess endless options for where to rest their body. Yet, something fascinating happens daily. When your dog deliberately chooses to lie down directly in front of you, right in your walking path, or close enough that you can simply reach out and touch their fur, it is never an accident. That spatial choice is highly intentional. It is a warm physical gesture carrying profound emotional weight. Once you decode what this quiet body language is genuinely communicating, you will never view their resting habits the same way again. The loyal affiliative flop. There is a highly specific physical sequence that most dog parents know intimately well. Your dog walks across the room, makes brief direct eye contact with you for just a fraction of a second, and then, without any prior warning, completely collapses their physical weight right at your feet. It is not exactly graceful. It is not theatrical or exaggerated. It is a soft, heavy, gentle surrender of their muscular tension. Behavioral researchers formally refer to this movement as a social or affiliative flop. Even though that clinical name sounds highly academic, the physical behavior itself is incredibly simple and deeply heartfelt. This movement is entirely learned through observation and emotional connection. Dogs do not acquire this specific physical behavior through ancient hardwired instinct alone. They pick it up by living in close physical proximity to human beings, actively reading our daily physical cues, and learning exactly which small, quiet actions successfully generate a connection. You never actively train them to do this. You never offered a treat to teach this specific drop. But their brilliant brains have learned that allowing their body to fall near your feet earns them physical warmth, soft attention, or simply that vital biological feeling of being included in your personal space. Dogs are incredibly special in that exact way. They map our human patterns with surprising emotional sensitivity. When your dog flops down and exposes their chest, their abdomen, and their softer, highly vulnerable physical areas to the open air, they are opening their physical defenses in a way they only ever do when they feel genuinely biologically safe. Unlike wild animals who must keep their vital organs fiercely protected at all times, domestic dogs will willingly share these exposed physical positions around the exact people they feel securely bonded to. It is not merely about a sensitivity to physical touch. It is about deep embodied psychological trust. This physical reality lines up perfectly with a famous 2009 physiological study conducted by Nagasawa and colleagues. Their research definitively showed that when dogs share relaxed soft eye contact or actively seek emotional closeness with their chosen humans, the oxytocin levels in both the dog and the human rise significantly. It is a literal physiological loop. It is a biological confirmation that says, "My nervous system feels good when I am near your nervous system." A sudden flop right at your feet fits perfectly into that chemical loop. Sometimes it is indeed an active physical invitation for a belly rub or a scratch behind the ears. But quite often the meaning is far more subtle. It is pure emotional presence. In that exact moment, they do not want you to perform an action. They just want you to exist in the same space. When a canine feels safe enough to completely dial down their environmental alertness, to physically soften their rigid posture, and to give up total control of their highly guarded defensive positions, they are communicating volumes. Sometimes the physical message is incredibly simple. I am relaxed because you are currently here. Other times the context deepens the translation. If you observe loose leg muscles, soft blinking eyes, and a slow, gentle, sweeping tail wag, you are witnessing comfort in its absolute purest physical form. Conversely, if you see a stiff, muscular body, a completely still tail, or a hard, alert stare that indicates uncertainty, meaning they likely just want physical space for a minute. The belly trap misconception. Because dogs frequently expose their abdomen during these resting moments, many owners instantly assume that a visible belly universally equals a request for a belly rub. However, canine body language is much more nuanced than that. This brings us to one of the most common and sometimes funniest behavioral misconceptions, the belly trap myth. You have absolutely experienced this moment. Your dog rolls over, exposing their soft stomach to the ceiling. You naturally reach your hand down to pet them, and suddenly their entire physical state shifts. They violently wiggle, twist their spine, playfully mouth at your fingers, or suddenly try to turn the interaction into a high-energy wrestling match. Sometimes humans pull their hands back and think, did you just trick me into petting you so you could bite my hand? The biological answer is no. Dogs do not possess the cognitive framework to set manipulative physical traps. They are simply overflowing with sudden enthusiasm. The vital thing to understand is that dogs expose their bellies to communicate a wide spectrum of feelings. Deep trust, a sudden spike in playfulness or social openness. They do not do it for deception. Unlike wild predators who might use a submissive physical position. As a tactical combat maneuver, your dog does it because they feel emotionally safe enough to drop their physical guard. In fact, extensive observational studies from behavioral experts like Mikloy and Topol at the Family Dog Project demonstrate that dogs interpret human attention and physical movement through real-time emotional cues, not through strategic premeditated planning. When they roll over and you reach down, they are actively watching your physical reaction to gauge the emotional temperature of the room. Think of a sudden belly reveal more like a soft vulnerability check. It is an emotional reach across the species barrier. They are physically asking, how gentle and playful will you be with me right now? Your immediate physical response simply shapes how they feel the remaining space between you. The architectural blockade. There is another fascinating physical layer to where your dog chooses to drop their weight. Your dog might frequently choose to lie down completely flat in narrow hallways, horizontally across bedroom doorways, or in the exact unavoidable path you were just about to walk down. They do this with such surprising tactical accuracy that it almost seems as though they have perfectly memorized the architectural flow of your house just to trip you. Canine behaviorists explain that dogs select their specific resting places based on a complex calculation of physical safety, thermal warmth, and the psychology of pack belonging. Because your dog views you as their ultimate family and their biological pack leader, they intentionally position their physical mass exactly where the emotional energy of the house is concentrated. So when your dog decides to lie down right where you are trying to walk, it is not physical clumsiness. It is not them trying to be a nuisance. It is highly specific physical communication. Sometimes the body placement is entirely innocent. They simply want to be physically involved in whatever activity you are currently doing. Sometimes it is a gentle biological need. Their nervous system genuinely feels more regulated when they are physically close to your footsteps. A critical 2020 behavioral study showed that proximity-seeking behavior in domestic dogs increases dramatically when their primary attachment figure, which is you, feels emotionally distant, physically preoccupied, or mentally unavailable. Dogs do not possess spoken language to tell you they feel ignored. So they use their physical body placement as a barrier. Lying directly in your walking path is their silent physical way of saying, "Please notice my existence for just a second." If you physically slow your walking pace, step gently over them, or offer a soft passing touch, their brain registers that they have been seen. If you storm past them too quickly, they process your physical rush. While they do not harbor human resentment, they absolutely register your emotional distance. The elongated side stretch beyond where they lie down. The exact muscular posture they adopt tells its own deeply evolutionary story. There is something incredibly tender and physically revealing about the moment your dog lies down near your chair and then slowly, deliberately stretches their entire skeletal body out, practically melting their spine into the floorboards. It is not a dramatic motion. It is completely silent, but it is deeply loving. This specific elongated posture makes their physical body take up significantly more spatial room and paradoxically makes them infinitely more physically vulnerable. Pushing their forelegs straight out and exposing the entire length of their ribcage is a biological sign that they are comfortable enough to fully deactivate their sympathetic nervous system. They are actively unclenching their major muscle groups around you. They are not coiling their hind legs to prepare to spring up. They are not resting on high alert. They are simply passively sharing the environmental space with your energy. Research in cross-species bonding suggests that when a dog physically stretches their body out to its maximum length near a trusted human, they are actually engaging in gentle emotional mirroring. They are attempting to biologically sync their internal resting state with yours. It is a wordless, deeply physical way of stating, "I am completely grounded here." They are seeking the quiet comfort of your presence without demanding direct, active contact. The high-velocity flop. People frequently assume that canine communication is basic, but their physical behavior is immensely layered. They communicate continuously through muscle tension, respiratory rates, bodily softness, and the sheer speed of their movement. Sometimes the emotional meaning is not found in the static posture itself, but in the rapid velocity of the action. Some dogs possess an incredible flair for physical drama. They will trot rapidly into the living room, lock hard eye contact with you, and then immediately hit the floor as if the Earth's gravity just suddenly doubled. The impact is fast. It is audibly loud. It is highly comedic, and it is incredibly endearing. A sudden high-velocity flop almost always means, I am experiencing a spike in excitement. I demand that you focus your eyes on me right now. Let us engage in an activity. Dogs that utilize this rapid physical drop are often highly emotionally expressive animals. They utilize the entire weight of their physical body to punch up their communication. If that sudden loud flop is immediately followed by a rapid paw swipe, a spine roll, or a full body wiggle, you are receiving a crystal-clear physical invitation to initiate play. And you must remember, dogs are masters of operant conditioning. A 2015 follow-up physiological study demonstrated that dogs not only use physical contact to raise their own oxytocin levels, but they actively memorize exactly which physical expressions and dramatic gestures successfully generate a positive reaction from their humans. If their loud dramatic floor flop caused you to smile, laugh out loud, or immediately sit down on the rug with them yesterday, they will absolutely execute that exact same physical maneuver today. Their brains are hardwired to repeat any physical behavior that successfully creates a bridge of connection, the heavy cranial anchor. When they are not loudly flopping to initiate play, they often use their physical mass to establish a silent grounding tether. After your dog settles near you, they will often take their incredibly heavy skull and drop their chin directly onto your foot, your ankle, or your lower leg. To a human, it just feels like they are using you as a convenient warm pillow. To the dog, this is an incredible display of physical grounding and tactical dependency. The head is a dense, heavy, and vitally important part of canine anatomy. By letting the thick muscles of their neck go completely limp and resting the dead weight of their jaw directly onto your physical body, they are intentionally tying their nervous system to yours. They are establishing a biological alarm system. If you shift your weight, stand up, or attempt to leave the room, the loss of physical contact will instantly pull them from their sleep. It is an evolutionary tether that clearly states, I am powering down my brain to rest, but I absolutely refuse to lose track of your physical location. It is a profound physical cue demonstrating that their ability to relax is entirely dependent on knowing exactly where your body is in the room. They are letting you bear the physical weight of their skull so they do not have to hold themselves up anymore. The tactical back-to-back rest. Another fascinating variation of physical placement happens when your dog climbs onto the couch, but instead of facing you to seek eye contact, they flop down and deliberately turn their spine entirely toward you. They press their back firmly against your hip or leg while facing completely outward toward the center of the room. To human social standards, someone turning their back to you feels dismissive, like receiving a cold shoulder. Biologically, for a canine, it is the exact opposite. The back of the neck and the spine represent a canine's ultimate physical blind spot. It is the area they cannot see and cannot easily defend from a sudden attack. By intentionally pressing their dorsal spine tightly against your body, they are physically covering their deepest vulnerability. They are implicitly trusting you to guard their rear flank while their eyes monitor the open space of the living room. It is a deeply ingrained shared defensive posture. This specific physical orientation proves that they view you as a highly capable, entirely trusted partner in their daily survival. They are essentially dividing the perimeter defense in half. They are saying, I will watch the front because I know with absolute certainty that you are watching my back. The vagal nerve sigh nerve. Finally, the physical action of the flop is almost always accompanied by a highly distinct, incredibly important auditory cue, the heavy vibrating exhale. Your dog approaches, circles their chosen spot once or twice, drops their physical weight onto the floor, and immediately pushes a massive, audible breath out through their nasal cavity. It sounds like a long, tired groan. In canine neurobiology, this deep exhalation is not a sign of sadness or annoyance. It acts directly on the vagus nerve, which runs from their brain down through their abdomen. Pushing that heavy breath out rapidly lowers their resting heart rate and actively shifts their brain waves from an alert beta state into a relaxed alpha state. It is a literal biological reset button. Executing this deep nervous system reset directly at your feet carries immense significance. It means your specific physical presence is the exact biological trigger that allows their parasympathetic nervous system to finally take over. They are literally exhaling the accumulated stress of the day simply because they are finally secure within your physical orbit. The universal language of connection. All of these varied physical behaviors share one undeniable unifying truth. Your dog absolutely does not execute a vulnerable belly flop in front of total strangers. They do not fully stretch out their ribcage near a human whose physical energy feels unpredictable or tense. They do not anchor their heavy chin on the foot of someone they do not deeply trust. Every single thing they do with their physical body when they are around you, every heavy flop spine, roll side stretch, and backward glance is a critical piece of the emotional language they have built from being your constant companion. Researchers who have spent decades analyzing the neurobiology of dog attachment have reached a profound conclusion. Domestic dogs form chemical and emotional bonds with their humans that look remarkably biologically identical to the secure attachment pattern seen between human parents and young children. They actively seek physical reassurance. They constantly seek tactile closeness. They require steady emotional availability to thrive. So the very next time your dog lies down heavily near your chair, stretches out directly in your walking path, or slams their body into the floor with dramatic flair, realize that they are not just being cute. They are executing a biological check-in. They are physically asking, "Do you see me right now? Do you feel my physical presence here? Am I still an active part of your pack?" Your immediate physical response, the softening of your voice, the slowing of your footsteps, the gentle scratch you offer behind their ears becomes a permanent block in the foundation of the bond you share. When you take a moment to acknowledge their physical placement, you are speaking directly to them in an ancient language they understand right down to their slowing heartbeat. What is the name of the dog who flops down at your feet every day? Drop a comment below and let us know. You might believe you are already giving your dog the perfect life, but there is a heartbreaking reality most owners completely miss. Millions of domestic dogs are well fed. They go on daily walks. They sleep on soft beds and are treated like family members. Yet, they spend their entire lives feeling chronically stressed and emotionally isolated. This is not because you are failing them on purpose. It happens because there are hidden biological needs that completely alter a canine's reality, and almost no one teaches us about them. Dogs suffer in absolute silence. They adapt quietly, hiding their anxiety behind subtle physical cues. Today, we are decoding 7 vital secrets that will completely transform your dog's life. Secret number 1: targeted physical decompression. There is a silent epidemic in our homes. Countless dogs are living with immense physical stress every single day, and their owners simply never notice. Dogs cannot speak. They cannot verbally tell you that their central nervous system is exhausted. They cannot tell you that their shoulder muscles are tight or that their fight-or-flight response has never truly powered down. Over time, this hidden tension bleeds into their behavior. They begin panting heavily for no reason. They pace restlessly across the living room floor. They struggle to fall into a deep sleep. They become easily startled by sudden noises or easily irritated by minor changes. Most humans look at this behavior and assume the dog is just naturally hyperactive. The biological truth is much deeper. Dogs store emotional stress directly in their physical tissues, exactly the way humans do. This is why targeted gentle canine massage can completely revolutionize a dog's emotional baseline. When you intentionally place your hands on their body, the dynamic changes. Slowly stroke your palms down the length of their spine. Rub the dense muscles of their shoulders with a soft, yielding pressure. Use small, slow, circular motions around the base of their neck. When you do this, your dog's brain begins receiving a very specific, powerful neurological signal. It tells their biology that in this exact moment they are completely safe. It is no longer just casual petting. It becomes a profound physical connection. It is a rare moment where the dog truly feels there is absolutely no need to guard the perimeter. Watch their physical behavioral cues closely. At first, they might still seem rigid. Their ears might stay locked forward. Their eyes might remain wide and alert. But after a few sustained minutes of slow rhythmic touch, their biology shifts. Their breathing rate begins to drop. Their skeletal muscles physically soften. Their eyes lose that hard, anxious focus. Some dogs will close their eyes completely, letting their head drop heavily into your hands. For the first time all day, their autonomic nervous system is finally allowed to rest. A dog that receives this kind of intentional physical touch does not just become calmer. They begin to trust your leadership on a much deeper level. In a dog's sensory world, gentle, peaceful touch speaks far louder than any verbal command ever could. Secret number 2. Unbroken biological presence. There is a profound reality that many dog owners never stop to truly process. To your dog, you are not just a piece of their daily routine. You are their entire universe. Their whole existence revolves around your physical presence. They track the specific sound of your footsteps. They memorize your unique scent profile. They monitor the tone of your voice. They even absorb the microscopic shifts in your emotional state. The truly heartbreaking part is that many dogs spend all day sitting right beside their owners, yet they never actually feel connected to them. They walk right beside you on the leash, but your eyes remain locked downward on a glowing phone screen. They lie heavily next to your feet on the couch, but your mind is thousands of miles away, lost in work stress or digital distractions. From a logical human perspective, you are physically in the room. But from your dog's biological perspective, you feel incredibly distant. Dogs do not measure your love by the sheer number of hours you exist in the same house. They measure your love. Focused presence. They measure it by the way you make direct eye contact when they turn their head to check on you. They measure it through the few extra patient seconds you give them to investigate an interesting scent on the sidewalk. They feel it in the soft, dedicated tone of your voice when you call their name after a grueling day. To a canine, those tiny, focused micro-moments are exactly what creates a deep sense of pack belonging. Canine science has revealed something truly remarkable about our bond. Dogs absorb human emotions with staggering intensity. If you walk through the front door feeling stressed, irritable, or emotionally detached, your dog's nervous system immediately begins to destabilize. They absorb your chaotic energy. But if you deliberately slow your movements down, sit quietly beside them and truly focus your attention on them for just 5 minutes, their entire biology changes. Their heart rate literally syncs with yours. What dogs desperately need is not a flawless, wealthy lifestyle. They need the undeniable feeling that their favorite person is truly mentally present with them. Secret number 3. Intense cognitive enrichment. This is a concept that the vast majority of dog owners completely misunderstand. People often think that because their dog runs around the backyard and takes a brisk walk around the block, their needs are fully met. They assume physical exhaustion equals a happy dog. But it is not true. A dog can be completely physically exhausted and still be entirely mentally starved. You have to look at their evolutionary biology. A dog's brain was intricately designed by nature to solve complex problems. Their wild ancestors survived by tracking microscopic scent trails. They had to make rapid tactical decisions. They had to forage for hidden food sources. They had to constantly observe their changing environment and decode subtle physical signals from their pack. That massive intellectual instinct never disappeared. It is still hardwired into your dog's DNA. Yet today, millions of dogs live lives that are painfully, agonizingly repetitive. They eat the exact same kibble from the exact same metal bowl. They walk the exact same concrete route. Every single morning. They repeat the exact same passive routine for years on end. Then owners act surprised when their dogs begin destroying the sofa cushions. They wonder why the dog barks endlessly at the living room window, digs massive holes in the yard, or paces the floor with restless anxiety. The harsh truth is that is rarely a bad or disobedient dog. That is a highly intelligent mind that is slowly decaying from chronic boredom. That is why introducing intense mental stimulation can transform a dog's behavior with shocking speed. You do not need expensive equipment. Simply rolling their daily food tightly inside a heavy towel and letting them unroll it works wonders. Using a complex snuffle mat to hide high V-value treats forces them to use their brain. Shaping a brand new challenging trick wakes up their dormant neural pathways. Something fascinating happens to their biology after just 15 minutes of intense cognitive work. Many dogs will drop into a deeper, more peaceful sleep than they would after a full hour of mindless fetching. Mental Processing drains a dog's energy reserves far more efficiently than physical running. Most importantly, every single time a dog successfully solves a mental puzzle, their brain receives a massive spike of dopamine. They experience a profound sense of biological achievement. They feel like they are finally living the purposeful life they were engineered for. They stop merely existing in your house and they start actively using the brilliance they were born with. Secret number 4. Deep olfactory freedom. We view the world primarily through our eyes. We see colors, shapes, and movement. But your dog perceives the entire universe through their nose. Their olfactory bulb is vast and incredibly complex. When a dog walks outside, they are not just looking at trees and fire hydrants. They are reading an invisible, highly detailed chemical landscape. They can smell which animals passed by hours ago. They can detect the emotional state of the dog that left a mark on the corner. They read the neighborhood like a daily newspaper. Yet, human beings constantly rush them. We put them on a short leash and physically drag them away from the most interesting scents because we are in a hurry to finish the walk. Imagine someone dragging you through an art museum at a full sprint, forcing you to look away from every painting. That is exactly how a dog feels when they are rushed through a walk. Denying a dog the right to sniff is denying them their primary sensory experience. Allowing your dog to engage in deep olfactory freedom completely changes their mental health. When you take them on a walk designated specific times where the sole purpose is sniffing. We call this a sniffari. Let them stop at that patch of tall grass. Let them bury their nose in the dirt for 2 full minutes if they want to. Do not pull the leash. Do not verbally rush them. Just stand quietly and let their brain process the complex chemical data. Studies have proven that allowing a dog to sniff freely significantly lowers their pulse rate. It physically reduces their circulating stress hormones. It provides massive psychological relief. A slow 20-minute walk where the dog is allowed to sniff everything is infinitely more exhausting and fulfilling for their brain than a fast-forced 2-mile jog on concrete. Give them back their most powerful sense. Secret number 5. Safe canine social literacy. There is an intricate silent language happening all around us that humans will never fully speak. It is the complex physical language of dogs. A millimeter shift of a dog's ear. A subtle stiffening of the shoulder muscles, a deliberate turning away of the head, the specific curving path 2 dogs take as they approach each other. In a fraction of a second, dogs are exchanging hundreds of biological microsignals that humans completely miss. Because of this complex communication, you can never entirely replace the presence of other dogs in your pet's life. However, modern society has created a massive problem. Many dogs grow up almost entirely isolated from a healthy canine world. They never learn how to fluently read these subtle social signals. They never experience natural calm interactions with their own species. Then inevitably they see another dog on the sidewalk. They panic. They react with explosive fear or overwhelming overstimulation. They bark aggressively, lunge against the collar, and spin in circles. Owners immediately panic and label the dog as aggressive. But most of the time, that is simply a deeply insecure dog that never learned the language of safety. The absolute worst thing you can do is throw an insecure dog into the chaotic, unpredictable environment of a crowded dog park. That only floods their nervous system with panic. The secret to changing their life is providing slow, highly controlled, positive exposure. Start by finding one calm, balanced dog. Meet in a completely neutral environment like an open field. Do not force them to greet face to face. Walk them parallel to each other at a safe distance. Let them observe each other's body language without any physical pressure. Let them slowly close the distance on their own terms. Every single calm, uneventful interaction becomes a permanent safe memory filed away in their brain. Over time, they begin to realize that the sight of another dog does not mean a fight or a chaotic, stressful event. Not every dog needs to be a social butterfly. Not every dog wants to play with strangers. Some dogs are perfectly content with just 1 or 2 quiet, trusted canine friends. And that is perfectly fine. What truly matters is that your dog maintains a healthy, fearless connection to the world of their own kind. Secret number 6. The gift of unstructured autonomy. Take a moment to think about how heavily managed a domestic dog's life truly is. We dictate exactly when they are allowed to eat. We decide when they sleep. We determine when they go to the bathroom. We choose the exact route of their walk. We tell them when to sit, when to stay, and when to speak. A dog goes through their entire life with almost zero personal autonomy. They have virtually no control over their own daily existence. In the world of psychology, a complete lack of control over your environment leads directly to chronic anxiety and learned helplessness. You can profoundly alter your dog's emotional well-being simply by giving them the gift of choice. This does not mean letting them run wild without rules. It means finding safe, structured ways to let them be the decision-maker. Take them to an empty park or a quiet hiking trail. Put them on a long 15-foot training line instead of a short leash. Then just follow them. Let them choose which trail to take. Let them decide if they want to walk fast or sit in the grass for 10 minutes. Let them dictate the pace and the direction. When a dog realizes they have agency, when they understand that their choices actually matter and will be respected, their confidence skyrockets. You will see their posture change. Their tail carriage will lift. Their stride will become more relaxed. Unstructured autonomy allows them to shed the heavy burden of constant obedience. Gives them a brief, beautiful window of time to simply exist as an animal in the world, making their own choices without human interference. That tiny taste of freedom is a powerful medicine for an anxious canine mind. Secret number 7. Instinct-driven playtime. Many people view playing with their dog as a luxury. They see it as a fun little activity to do on the weekends if the weather is nice. But for a dog, play is not just a casual reward. It is a deeply urgent biological emotional need. When a dog engages in high-intensity play, they are not just burning off calories. They are safely activating the deepest, oldest predatory instincts buried inside their DNA. They possess a biological need to track, to chase, to capture, to tug, and to feel the thrill of a hunt. The sad reality is that millions of dogs never get to truly release these instincts. They go for a highly structured, boring walk and then spend the next 10 hours lying silently on a rug. They experience no physical challenge. They feel no adrenaline. They have no moments of absolute, uninhibited joy. Over time, that trapped, stagnant energy mutates into severe behavioral issues. They chew up baseboards. They bark obsessively at the fence. They sprint frantically through the house at midnight. What they are desperately trying to communicate is a biological need for an outlet. The secret is discovering exactly what kind of play unlocks your dog's specific genetics. Some dogs possess a massive retrieval drive and want to chase a ball until the sun goes down. Others need the heavy, physical resistance of playing a fierce game of tug-of-war with a thick rope. Scent hounds might become entirely obsessed with tracking down a specific toy hidden in the woods. Once you find the exact game that triggers their specific biology, their entire physical form changes. Their eyes lock on with laser focus. Their muscles tone up. But it is not just about physical joy. It is about your relationship. High-intensity shared play acts as a massive biological bonding event. It triggers intense oxytocin bonding loops between you and the dog. During play, a dog lowers all their social defenses. They trust you completely. They allow themselves to become silly, wild, and totally free in your presence. Just 15 minutes of highly focused, instinctual play every single day can heal a dog's emotional wounds faster than hours of silent petting. To a dog, engaging in raw, joyous play with the human they trust most is the absolute pinnacle of happiness. After hearing all of this, you might begin to view the dog resting at your feet through an entirely different lens. Dogs were never designed by nature to survive on premium kibble alone. They need far more than just a warm roof over their heads. A dog can be fed massive meals every single day and still starve from emotional loneliness. They can live in a massive, expensive house and still suffer from chronic, invisible stress. They can spend their entire 10 or 15-year lifespan sitting right beside their owner, yet never truly feel understood as an animal. What dogs truly require from us is surprisingly simple. They need intentional, gentle physical touch to regulate their nervous systems. They need focused, unbroken presence so they feel truly seen. They need the freedom to use their incredibly powerful noses. They need the agency to make their own choices. They need to activate their primal instincts through play. But most importantly, they need the undeniable certainty that they belong to a pack. That biological need to belong is exactly why your dog will wait by the front door for 8 straight hours just to see your face. It is why they greet you with explosive, overwhelming joy, even if you only walked outside to check the mail. To a dog, love is not a complex equation. They give their entire fragile heart to one specific person. Then they spend almost their whole life hoping that person will eventually learn to speak their language. The most heartbreaking aspect of dogs is their capacity for unconditional forgiveness. They continue loving their owners deeply, even when their complex emotional needs are entirely ignored. They do not hold grudges. They do not harbor resentment. They simply adapt to the quiet loneliness. They endure it silently, and they continue loving you in the absolute only way they are biologically capable of. The single greatest thing that will change a dog's life forever is not a massive backyard. It is not an expensive leather collar. It is not gourmet treats. It is simply one human being finally taking the time to truly decode their biology and understand their silent emotions for the very first time. Tonight, before you go to sleep, try giving your dog a few truly intentional minutes. Put the phone in another room. Turn off the television. Stop rushing through your evening routine. Just sit down beside them on the floor. Slowly, gently stroke the muscles of their neck and spine. Look directly into their eyes just a few seconds longer than you normally would. Watch how their physical body responds to your unbroken focus. Watch the tension melt away just because you are truly there. You will soon realize something incredibly profound. Throughout their entire tragically short life, your dog never needed you to be a flawless human being. They do not care about your bank account. They do not care if your workday was a massive success or a total failure. They do not care about your social status. The only biological question they constantly ask is, "Are you truly here with me right now?" That level of pure, unadulterated devotion is so rare that human beings often spend their entire lives searching for it. It is a love that always forgives. Snorts. It is a love that patiently waits by the glass door. It is a love that feels explosive joy simply because your shadow crossed the threshold. Dogs are granted such a brief, fleeting moment on this earth. Yet during those few short years, they willingly hand over their entire existence to their owner. If understanding these biological secrets made you look at your dog differently today, then their life has already begun to change for the better. Their silent language is waiting to be heard. We would absolutely love to hear about the loyal companion who shares your life. Drop down into the comments section right now and tell us your beautiful dogs. Thanks for watching, and like and subscribe, share please.